Comply or leave!
This is my land.
The battle for lakeside serenity. I'd been away for just 4 days, filming a documentary on coastal conservation in Hawaii. The salty air, the rhythm of the wave sit was a rare break from my usual grind. My lakeside property in Minnesota, a quiet retreat on the shores of Lake Minnetonka, was supposed to be waiting for me, untouched, just as I'd left it. I'd bought that land 10 years ago with every hard-earned dollar from my documentary production company, envisioning a simple cabin where I could recharge after cross-country shoots. But when I pulled up to my driveway that crisp October evening, my heart sank. My peaceful lot had been transformed into a surreal suburban nightmare. 101 pastel-colored tiny houses, a gleaming metal gate, and a sign proclaiming the Lakeshore Estates HOA. Families were barbecuing, kids scampering around, lawn chairs lined up on the dock I'd built myself. A newsletter, pinned to a post, listed me as a future resident. A woman approached, clipboard in hand, her smile sharp as a blade. "You have 30 days to comply with HOA regulations, or you'll need to vacate," she said, her tone calm but unyielding. My blood boiled. This wasn't a mistake, it was a calculated move. If you've ever felt your world turned upside down by someone else's rules, you know the slow burn of rage that starts in your chest and threatens to consume you. My name is Jack Thompson, 55, a documentary filmmaker based in Minneapolis. I've spent decades chasing stories, from the rugged fisheries of Maine to the sun-scorched ranches of Texas, always coming back to this plot of land I'd saved for a sanctuary for my soul. That Hawaii shoot had been a reprieve, a chance to breathe after months of grueling work. But this was war on my turf. I killed the engine and stepped out, my boots crunching on the gravel path I'd laid 3 summers ago. The scene was uncanny. Tiny houses painted in soft pinks, blues, and yellows, each with a miniature mailbox that flipped open, white picket fences sturdy enough to lean on, and street lamps that flickered to life as dusk settled. There was a post office the size of a shed, a vet clinic with a red cross painted on its side, and even a tiny community center with a sign advertising Lakeshore Estates HOA meetings. The sidewalks were poured concrete, not cheap plywood, and the lamps were wired to an underground electrical system professional, expensive, planned. Who does this on someone else's land? The signs hit me hardest. Nailed to my ancient oak trees were private property, no trespassing plaques, but they weren't protecting my land, they were shielding this bizarre village from me, the rightful owner. Fake security cameras, complete with blinking red lights, were angled toward my cabin, not outward to deter intruders. It was as if I were the enemy on my property. My stomach twisted. Had I stumbled into some dystopian reality where my home was no longer mine? I should have called the sheriff right then, but I've always been one to talk before escalating. Near what looked like the village's town square, a placard caught my eye. Community Beautification Project 1, sponsored by Lakeshore Estates HOA. Tropical minimalist style. Project manager, Susan Hargrove. The name burned into my brain. This was no prank. It was a deliberate, orchestrated invasion, executed while I was 4,000 miles away. Footsteps crunched behind me, steady and confident. I turned to face Susan Hargrove, a woman in her late 50s with a smile so polished it could have sold beachfront condos. She didn't bother with introductions. Pointing at my truck, she said, "You'll need to move your vehicle by noon, or it'll be towed for obstructing HOA-maintained access." The sheer audacity ordering me off my driveway left me momentarily speechless. Who was this woman, and how had she hijacked my life? I drove to her address, listed on that placard like a taunt. Her home was a monument to blandness. Beige walls, beige furniture, cushions aligned with surgical precision. She answered the door with that same saccharine smile and offered coffee from a machine that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. I declined, sensing a trap in her hospitality. When I demanded answers, she tilted her head, feigning confusion. "Oh, Mr. Jack, this is a community-approved initiative for the greater good. Progress doesn't wait for individual preferences." She slid a folder across her spotless table, revealing petitions with neighbor signatures, including one from Harold, my retired neighbor who'd shared fishing stories over beers last summer. Seeing his name felt like a knife in the back. Then she handed me a check for $100, calling it rental compensation for my land. I shoved it back, my voice steady but firm. You've got 48 hours to remove every last house, or I'm calling my lawyer and the police. Her smile cooled just a fraction, a crack in her facade. Legal battles can be costly, Mr. Jack. Sometimes, embracing change is wiser than fighting it. Was that a threat? The words hung heavy as I left, my mind racing with questions. How far would someone go to steal a piece of the American dream? 48 hours came and went. The houses stayed put, mocking me with their pastel perfection. Instead, a notice arrived in my mailbox, a $500 fine for landscaping violations, complete with my name forged in handwriting I hadn't used since my college days. The audacity fueled a fire in Metis wasn't just theft, it was personal. It raised a question that gnawed at me. How much power can a homeowners association wield before it becomes tyranny? The emergency HOA meeting was held in the community center, a squat building that smelled of stale coffee and self-righteousness. Photos of Susan shaking hands with local politicians lined the walls, each frame a testament to her influence. I arrived early, hoping to catch Harold and ask about his signature, but he was nowhere to be found. The room filled with neighbors I barely knew, their faces a mix of curiosity and hostility. Susan banged her gavel, framing me as the villain threatening neighborhood harmony. She waved a petition with dozens of signatures, demanding I pay an increased fine of $1,500 or face a lien on my property. A man stood, reading from a note card with a trembling voice. We just want to preserve our community. When I tried to respond, my microphone cut out silenced in my defense. The injustice burned. How could a group twist rules to steal someone's land? Harold appeared at my truck afterward, his face pale. That signature wasn't mine, he whispered. I never agreed to this. He told me about a family on Elm Street, driven out by endless fines and mortgage sabotage. Susan had been building an empire, one coerced property at a time. The revelation hit like a thunderbolt. This was systemic abuse, raising questions about unchecked power in suburban America. Who else had been silenced, and at what cost? For 3 days, I stared at lawyer business cards, weighing the costs, legal fees, stress, maybe bankruptcy against the principle of fighting back. Sell the land and walk away. Or stand firm, knowing others might suffer if I didn't. My documentaries had chronicled underdogs battling corporate greed and government overreach. But being the underdog myself was different. It was raw, personal, terrifying. I hired Emily Carter, whose office was a chaotic haven of legal briefs and stacked books. She dove into my files, her eyes narrowing. This isn't a property dispute, she said. It's extortion dressed up as civic duty. Emily spotted a loophole treating my land as a communal corridor, but it was beatable under abandoned property laws. Then she showed me Susan's online newsletter, crowdfunding $10,000 to expand the recreational space on my land fraud. Plain and simple. Her plan was bold. Attend the HOA's summer festival, record Susan's admissions, and turn their hubris against them. The stakes were high. Could we expose their scheme without them retaliating? The thought sparked debate in my mind. Is it worth risking everything to fight a bully, or safer to let them win? The festival was a surreal spectacle. My property transformed into a carnival with food trucks, a bounce house, and a stage where Susan held court like a small-town queen. Neighbors and strangers milled about, snapping photos of their kids in my stolen paradise. Susan took the microphone. Thanks to your generous donations, we've expanded to the lakefront, creating recreational opportunities for all. The words were gold recorded on my hidden device, clear evidence of her overreach. Her husband, Robert, approached, his designer polo shirt screaming wealth. His hand gripped my shoulder, not quite assault, but heavy with intent. Be careful, he murmured. Troublemakers find their problems multiply. He showed me a video of myself walking the HOA common area at night, checking the house's permanents. Edited cleverly, it made me look like a vandal casing the joint. Trespassing can be serious, he said, his smile cold. Trouble follows those who stir it. A threat in broad daylight, bold and reckless. Then I spotted a man stuffing ballots into an HOA box, caught on my camera. The layers of corruption piled up, but so did the risks. They were watching me as closely as I was watching them. I called Emily, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. Perfect, she said. They've escalated to criminal territory. Her confidence was a lifeline, but doubt lingered. Were we ready for the fallout? We spent 2 weeks building a legal fortress. Emily dug through decades of property records, proving my ownership predated the HOA by 15 years. It was a slog, 2 days of near despair when it seemed a technicality might sink us. But she found the original deed, survey markers, and ironclad documentation. Under state law, items left on someone's land after ignored removal notices become the landowner's property. Susan's refusal to clear the houses meant I now owned all 101 of them. Emily's masterstroke? Register the village as an art installation, portrait of suburban oppression, valued at $25,000. We sent our evidence audio, video, forged signature resto the district attorney, the IRS, and local news outlets. Robert filed a countersuit, claiming I was stealing HOA assets, but it collapsed in 3 days when a judge reviewed our files and suggested he lawyer up for criminal charges instead. The final HOA meeting was Susan's attempt to exile me publicly. Instead, it became her undoing. The community center was packed, neighbors, reporters, even police, tipped off by Emily's quiet outreach. Susan opened with her usual flair, accusing me of threatening the community. I stood, holding my folder like a weapon. I don't need to destroy what you built illegally, I said, my voice clear without a microphone. Under state law, it's mine now. I laid out the fraud, the forged signatures, the crowdfunding scam. The room went silent, cameras clicking as neighbors processed the truth. Susan's composure was shattered. She shrieked about lawsuits and rights, proving she didn't grasp the law she'd weaponized. Robert lunged at a reporter, only to be cuffed and led away, his perp walk broadcast live. Neighbors erupted, sharing stories of Susan's abuses, forced renovations, illegal fines, and families bankrupted. Harold revealed his forged signature. Others confirmed theirs. The hardware store owner exposed Robert's theft of HOA funds. The board voted Susan out, installing Harold as interim leader with reforms to prevent future tyranny. Susan and Robert faced charges, fraud, intimidation, and tax evasion. My art auction raised $25,000 for a legal fund to help HOA abuse victims. I restored my land, built my cabin, and sat by the lake, the silence hard-won but sweeter for it. Susan's legacy wasn't the empire she'd planned, but a warning. Unchecked power crumbles under scrutiny. I drive by the old property line sometimes, the signs and cameras gone, the land mine again. Paperwork, patience, and a public record turn the tide. But the bigger question lingers. How do we fight the quiet violence of bureaucracy and bullying in our communities? Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you faced injustice like this? Take a stand. Tell us what you do. Your voice matters. Let's keep this conversation alive.